So we are picking up on Daf Hey Amud Beis here in Rosh Hashana. We are still in the topic of Baal Ta'acher, of the halachas of one who has a carbon to be brought, or a donation to the Beis Hamikdash, or even the more personal mitzvahs like Maaseh and Tzedakah. They have a certain amount of time to bring it, after which you are over on Baal Ta'acher, on delaying your karbanos. So we pick up here, we were darshaning it from these pasukim. So at the top of this Amud, here we had the pasuk Lo Yisachel Shalmo, and what we learned from all these things, Ki Doreshit Reshenu Elu Chatoes Vashalmos, Hashem Elikecha Elu Tzedakos U'Maisros, Me'amcha Zalekha Shechopea, Vaya B'Chochet, V'Lo B'Kaban Chochet. So we discussed that last time, that if it's for you a sin and not for your carbon a sin. So that's what we're going to learn now. What does it mean? Vaya b'chochet. The pasuk tells us that if you fail to bring your karbanos, it's b'chochet. The sin is on you. V'lo b'karban chochet. So here that's where we pick up towards the bottom of Daf Hey Amud Beis, and if you follow on the cursor, vaya b'chochet v'lo b'karban chochet. Right? The sin is on you and not on your sacrifice. V'hamehacha nafka. You're telling me we learn this halacha from here? What's the halacha we're learning? That basically, even though you've transgressed and failed to bring your korban in the requisite time, you haven't brought it within 3 Yomim Tovim, nonetheless, you can still bring that korban. Meaning, it's not like the korban becomes possul, becomes, disqualified. Rather, it's you who've transgressed, you've done an avera, but you still have to go ahead and bring the korban. I think Rashi here suggests maybe it's sort of a mitzvah haba b'avera. Maybe you can't bring the korban because you've done a sin regarding this korban. So now to go ahead and do a mitzvah using on an occasion or using the thing that you've sinned with. Maybe that's sort of like stealing a lulav and then going ahead and trying to shake it as the arba minim. So maybe that's the thinking here. But nonetheless, the Gemara says we don't need this drush, we don't need this pasuk to tell me that indeed the carbon isn't possible. The carbon isn't disqualified. You can go ahead and bring the carbon even though you've transgressed the Aveira of Baal Ta'acher. So what do we learn? We learn it from the opinion of Acherim, usually Reb Meir, an unnamed opinion. The Tanya, Acherim Omrim, so there's a mitzvah of Bechar, right? It's connected to Pesach. In the Pesukim at the end of Parshas Bo, tells us about the mitzvah of pigeon bechor, petach chamor. The idea that the firstborn animal, not just a chamor, other animals as well, domesticated animals, the firstborn of a mother has to be given to the kohanim. So you might think that, and you have to bring it within the first year. That's how we actually began the Mishnah on the beginning of our Masechta. One of the Rosh Hashanas is bechor masabeh, is for bechor. No, let me just check that up. Isn't that one of them is? Sorry, no, it's the Masa Behema, not Bechar, Masa Behema. Because the Bechar goes on its own birth, not on a cutoff. Meaning, you've got a year to bring it. Within the first year of the animal being born, you have to give it to the Kohen. So you might think if you delay and you don't bring it within that first year, then it's possible. The animal is no longer valid to be brought as a donation to the Kohen. So then the Torah tells us, this is a pasuk Gimel here on the side. This is talking about bringing your tithes up to Yerushalayim, eating there before God, Hashem, your God, in Jerusalem. The tithings of your crop, Tiroshcha, of your vinary, Yitzarecha, of your oil press, B'choris B'karcha, the firstborns of your flock, V'tzaincha, of your sheep, Makish b'chor l'masa. So the pasuk there equates. You see in this pasuk, it talks about eating in Yerushalayim, masa, the tithes, and it talks about the b'chor, the firstborn animal. So makish there, it's connected. So ma masa ena nifsal mishon lechaverta, as we've discussed. Masa doesn't become possible. Let's say someone fails to bring their masa or to give their masa. So really, the truth is, this is the question here that Rishonim deal with. Because this is talking about Masa Sheni. It's talking about going up to Yerushalayim, eating in there, Masa Sheni, right? the second tithe that you take 10% of your produce and you have to eat it in Yerushalayim, or you'd have to be poder, you'd have to redeem it onto some money. You can eat it outside Yerushalayim if you live far away, it shouldn't go bad, or it's too much to carry. And then you take the money, you have to take a coin, and with that money you buy food and you buy things in Yerushalayim to eat and to enjoy. So the truth is, Maaseh Sheni isn't necessarily included in this halacha, but we know the other Maaseh Rishon and Truma, meaning if you have to give it each year on its own produce. Well, you can't tithe 1 year's produce on another year's produce. Nonetheless, if you fail to give them the requisite mass on any given year, it doesn't suddenly, you're not off the hook. It doesn't mean they're not given anymore. You still have to do it. We said you have on every third, after 3 and after 6 years, meaning on the Pesach, Erev Pesach, on the 4th year of the cycle. And the 7th year of the cycle, we've got something called Biur Maisa. You have to make a declaration. You have to give what you can give. If you can't give it, you have to get rid of it. You have to destroy it. Meaning you can't just keep the mass you don't give. But what we see, at least with maasa, with tithings, is that if you fail to give it in the real ideal time, i.e. within the first year, within the year, it doesn't mean it goes bad. It doesn't mean you no longer give them. It doesn't mean they lose their status as a carbon. So they're equated. In this pasuk, it's equating maasa to bechor, so to bechor. Say just as a bechor, yes, you have to give it within a year. If you don't give it within a year, it doesn't mean that it becomes possible. It doesn't mean the animal is no longer valid as for the Beis Hamikdash. So therefore, why do we need to learn? Yep.
So the pasuk says, "B'choros b'korocho v'tzon." Was it tzonech?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it's quite odd. I mean, it actually means b'choros of, assume, all your animals.
No, maybe not. So maybe it's only b'chor v'tzoncha. It's not going to be every animal. It's only, as I said, domesticated animals. So b'chor v'tzoncha is your flock and your cattle.
Okay, but why does it say? Okay, it doesn't say. But it says those two to include all domesticated.
So those are usually synonymous with domesticated animals. And it's not going to be birds. It's not going to be birds. It's going to be cattle. It's going to be flock. It's not going to be birds. Other types of animals you could bring. It's these sort of more larger domesticated animals.
You could argue that it's written that way to exclude any ones that have to be redeemed, like b'chor chamor.
Correct. So chamor, yeah, you can't bring a carbon as a chamor anyway. Chamor is not. You never see a carbon or matana, a carbon. The b'chor, there is a type of carbon that goes on here. So again, I'd have to review b'choros. It's been a while. So yeah, I can't remember the specifics. But yeah, it's not on every animal, and it's not on you have to redeem the petach chamor. You have to redeem it, but you don't have to. You don't. It's definitely not brought to Yerushalayim as a carbon or as a matana.
You have to just.
Yeah, so these are brought as a carbon, but which goes to the kohen mainly. Yeah. So nonetheless, we have already a drasha somewhere else where we know this idea that the carbon doesn't go bad if you fail to bring it in its right time. So why do we need to be told here? You failed to bring the carbonos or the matanos, whatever it may be, the whole long list of things we said, which are included in Baal Tacha. You failed to bring them in the right time. You might think, okay, once the 3 Yom Tov are over, I've already transgressed Baal Tacha. That's it. The carbon's no good anymore. Oh no, the sin is on you. It's on the person, not on the animal. The animal or the whatever item has been given as a matana is still good. So why do we need our pasuk where we have already the drasha from here? With me?
Yep.
Gemara says, Itzrich Salkatata Chamina 4 lines from the bottom. Hani midi b'chor, the lav bar hatzahu. So I might say, do you know what? When it's true that even if you fail to bring the carbon in its right time, the carbon nonetheless still needs to be brought. It still is valid. That's when the b'chor. That's what that pasuk is in Devarim was talking about b'chor. Why? Because b'chor the lav bar hatzahu. The b'chor is a matana. It's a gift to the kohen, to the Beis Hamikdash. It's not achieving hartzah. It's not achieving hartzah. Really mean leiritzui, like the ritzi tzitz we have in others on Yom Noraim. We're talking on Kippur about ritzui. It's about sort of the gaining divine favor, gaining divine forgiveness. Meaning, so other karbonos, many karbonos are brought on a specific sin to atone for something specific, to give thanksgiving or something specific. So they're brought for a purpose. You're discharging some type of religious obligation. But a bechor is a matana. It's simply a gift. It's not. It doesn't have the status of like a carbon in terms of many of the halachas of carbon. So you might say that's an obvious distinction. Bechor is a gift. So I failed to give this bechor in its right time. Okay, you can give it afterwards. But the other karbanos, which are brought for a specific purpose, a religious duty, they're supposed to be achieving something spiritually. Therefore, you might say, okay, once the time is over, the time is over. Aval kodshim dimnei hartzanin, who the other karbonos we're talking about kodshim, all the halachas of karbonos that you bring him up on the mizbech and everything else like that. So you might say, indeed, those after the time, after we've passed 3 Yom Tovim, we've passed the time of Baltacha, they're no longer desired, they're no longer valid. Kamash Malon. So we see here, the Torah tells us here by Loisacha, via Bechochet, or Bekarbon Chochet. No, that's the wrong thinking. That indeed these also have to be brought after. So just as a point out here, the Tosfos at the bottom, so we talked about the posuk, the acherim, the drosh we had by Bechor. We said the maaseh from one year to the next isn't disqualified, doesn't go bad, right? Pirish b'kundu t'chsiv miksei sholosh onim toisis kol maaseh tzivoscha. We discussed this. I mentioned this. It's the idea that after the 3rd year in the cycle, after the 6th year of the cycle, you have an opportunity. Then the Torah says, make sure you've done all your maasehs. So, this is an interesting dichotomy. On the one hand, there's Baal Ta'acha. I separate a Maaseh, and I didn't bring it with, and I didn't give it within the 3 Yom Tovim. There's Baal Ta'acha. On the other hand, they're still valid, and there's another Aveira which is transgressed if I don't deal with them properly after the full 3 years. Right? This is interesting. So yeah, the Torah is interesting. Where's the Gemara really coming from? Why would you even think that because there's an Aveira, right? Because Baal Ta'acha, because you're supposed to bring something within 3 years. You're supposed to pay your council tax. You're supposed to pay your HMRC. You're supposed to pay school fees by a certain deadline. Shul fees. And if you don't pay them by the deadline, then what? You don't bother pay them at all? Like that, you're off the hook? I mean, that's a simple way of never paying taxes. I just missed the deadline. And what's your assumption? Because you missed the deadline, therefore, there could be 2 things, like a penalty. You missed the deadline, therefore you suffer some penalty. Here we're talking about there's an Aveira, you've transgressed something, klapi shemaya, in terms of your ledger in heaven, you've done something wrong. But why would you think that somehow that has invalidated the carbon? That Tosfos here doesn't really answer the question. I suggested I mentioned before. I think Rashi brings it. I'm not sure Hero brings it earlier. Possibly sort of like a mitzvah ba'avera type of thinking. Yeah, this carbon, I now done an avera because of this carbon. I failed to bring this carbon. I failed to give these matanos in time. There's an avera going on here. So now to go ahead. This is not a power of a thing. If I miss a deadline and it's about just having to pay money because I owe money, but this is to bring a carbon. I'm doing something positive. And so maybe it's sort of like a mitzvah ba'avera. Now that I've done an avera with this, can I go ahead and fulfill a mitzvah? It's not just discharging a debt. It's like fulfilling a mitzvah, doing a carbon. So can I fulfill a mitzvah with something that I've already, transgressed an avera over? And that's Rashi thinking. That's what we need specifically to tell you. Yes, you've done an avera with this thing. Nonetheless, it's not like a stolen lulav. It doesn't disqualify this item from ever now being used as a mitzvah. The avera b'cha, the avera is on you, not on the item. Whereas a lulav hagozal, somehow when you steal a lulav, there's an avera on you. You transgress the avera of stealing, and there's something intrinsically wrong with this lulav. This lulav is not called a lulav. It's not called a proper lulav. Interesting, like for instance, if you take a lulav from an asherah tree. So an asherah tree is a tree that was served for idolatry. So the Gemara says you can't use it. Why? Because it's not got the shear of a lulav. It could be, so you have to have a minimum shear of a lulav, 3 or 4 tefachim. So the Gemara there in Sukkah the parak talks about the lulav of an asher tree somehow lacking the shear, which is very interesting. So Rosh explained that's the point, meaning it's not somewhere we superimpose an isser on this lulav. Meaning it's a good lulav, it's a kosher lulav. If you look at it, you look through the magnifying glass, you take it to the basin there who sits in the shuk, the Abba Munim shuk in Yerushalayim, that beautiful lulav. But what happened is somehow ancillary. I didn't, because it comes from the tree that serves as no. But the Gemara is telling us somehow in the very dimensions of the lulav itself it's not superimposed on the lulav itself. Someone is missing a shear, just like a lulav which is too short. No one ever thought you can use a lulav too short. That's not called a lulav. So to a lulav that's from an asher tree, it's simply not called a lulav. Maybe similarly with a lulav that's stolen. It could be a beautiful lulav that could be, you could have bought it for £300, but since it's stolen, it's not called a lulav. That's when you say mitzvah haba ba'avera, meaning I can't do a mitzvah because the avera has now rendered this item not a mitzvah item. So, I steal money and give it to tzedakah. That's just not called tzedakah. That's just not called tzedakah money. However, here, Baal Tacha, no, it's on you. You happen to have done an avera. You happen to have not, brought the carbon in the right time frame. But this carbon itself is still a good carbon, and therefore you could bring it.
But we do see with lots of other carbon that they have a time frame, right? So that could be the hover minute.
Time frame for what? No, to eat them, not to bring them.
No, so for example, if you don't bring the carbon ola in the morning and the carbon ola in the afternoon, or you don't bring the carbon in Yom Kippur or Rosh Chodesh or Shabbos, there's lots of carbonas that have a timeline to it. Do you think it could just be as simple as that says we generally have a timeline? And even with Marcel, I was just reflecting, it's also got a timeline. You got 3 or 4 years, don't you? And then afterwards, you've lost the chance. So maybe that was the Havramina. That's what I was just wondering.
When you say carbon, a Shabbos carbon has to be brought on Shabbos.
Yeah.
Right, so here, clearly we're talking about here, and that's what we grappled with the issue of a carbon of, that's what we talked about Ola and Shlomim. What were we talking about? We can't be talking about we're talking about the carbonus of a Yom Tov. Doesn't make so much sense because, as I said,
it's
a specific time. These are carbonas which are open-ended. All of them are things which are, you donate them, but there's no specific time to bring them. So this is a different category. Meaning we already grappled above with the issue. Hold on one second.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you for the reminder, Michael. I completely forgotten. So Rabbi Shomrei, and I noticed that it's got a hekesh to Marser. Does that mean it's got 4 years and then you've got to have brought it? Or Hi, Leila.
Hold on one second. Leila, what's the matter? No, you're watching. Sorry, Tanya actually went to work. Her schedule was changed, so I'm actually looking after the kids. Mirel's asleep and Leila's preoccupied with other things. We connected it to Marser. So so we discussed it a little bit earlier. What do you mean? Because Marser has a specific time frame after 3 or 4 years. Therefore, what? Yeah, that's the point. The Marser, even if it should be brought within a year, right? You should bring each Marser within a year, and nonetheless, we see that you can still bring it up to 3 or 4 years later. Yes. Therefore, so to Bechor, it's not even though you have to bring within a year. It's the mitzvah to bring the firstborn animal within its first year of life. Nonetheless, if you fail to do so, you can bring it. You can bring it later. That's exactly the point.
Yes, but that was the last point. Can you bring it only for 3 years, or do you think
the bechor?
The bechor.
No, the hekesh isn't that tight.
Okay, that's awesome.
We don't always makish every last detail down. I don't know when it can be brought to. Again, you have to look in Hilchos Bechor, but I doubt it's exactly collary to.
Perfect. But
what you were saying, the half a minute, maybe every carbon, but that's the Gemara's point. There's these lists of things with open-ended carbon. When we mentioned Pesach, what does it mean? Pesach, of course, has to be brought on a specific time. So what does it mean? Like after that time, there's no opportunity. There's no legitimate way to bring it after its designated time. We can't bring a Pesach on Sukkot. So we have to explain that way as something else. So these are carbonas which are unlike the examples you mentioned, which are not tied or specific to a day or a time. These are carbonas that can be brought substantively at any time. Yep. So this is why we need the Baal Ta'acha. The point is, don't think, yes, you have, classic, a psychological thing in life. When you think you have all the time to do it, you never do it. Things that you are time specific, that's when you do it. Right.
Yeah. Sorry, Michael, are you going to say something? Apologies.
No, that's fine.
So let's go over to the next Amud. So we answered it one way. We had a drasha of even after the time you can bring it. We said we know it from Bechar. So we said maybe Bechar is lav bar hatzah, it's not a real carbon. It wouldn't be true by carbonis. But then the next Gemara said we know it from Ben Azai. The Tanya Ben Azai Omer so. So let's look at the pasuk here. Pasuk on the side. This is a pasuk in Tzav. If you will eat from the flesh of the sacrifice or the peace offering on the third day, meaning you've eating from the carbon beyond its time frame, beyond the allotted time you're allowed to eat the carbon. It should not be considered as a carbon. Pigul yihiyeh. This is actually Pashas Hashavua. We come back to the idea of Pigul and Nois and Pashas Kedoshim, the beginning of Kedoshim. Again, we're not going to get into this difference between Pigul and Nois, but ostensibly we're talking about is you've delayed to bring the carbon, you delayed to eat the carbon in its right time frame. To eat it after the time frame is Pigul. It's considered something disgusting, something wrong, and therefore that is not allowed. And so we learn from that pasuk here. We say, "Oso lo hamakriv, oso lo yechoshev." It will not be considered. So oso ma'atamaloma. What do we learn from this extra word oso? So Rashi says, "V'toras kodim tani lo gabi pigohu lo yerotzeh hamakriv, oso lo yechoshev." We already said it. Lo yerotzeh. It's not desired. Hamakriv oso lo yechoshev. The one who brings it lo yechoshev. It should not be considered as a carbon. So what are we adding here? Because so we already have our pasuk. You're not allowed to delay bringing your carbonos. You donated, you've made a vow to bring a carbon, don't delay it. So Gemara says, therefore, I might think someone who delays to bring this carbon, who delays to bring the neder, the donation to the Beis Hamikdash, a vow, the Bal Yirot says no longer desired, no longer can bring as a carbon after the time frame has elapsed, after the 3 Chagim. Tamaloma oso. Oso below Yerotzeh ve'en ma'acha nidre below Yerotzeh. So the Gemara's oso is coming to mema'ed, is coming to exclude some to tell me, look, you have this carbon, meaning you have this shlomim. So this is interesting, because shlomim would be one of the things that has Baal Ta'acha. Baal Ta'acha meaning lo Yerotzeh, meaning after you've failed to, discharge in its right time frame, is no longer wanted. That's once you shechted it. That's once it's already been on the mizbeach and you're supposed to eat it within the time frame. Then after that time frame, it's not happening. You can't have it. You might say, okay, and there's another limit before I bring the carbon. Once I've donated the carbon, once I've said I'm going to bring the shlomim, once I'm already obliged to bring the shlomim, we also then have a time frame, of 3 Yom Tovim to bring it. So you might think, just as when it comes to eating it, if I fail to eat it in the time frame, then it's lo yerotzer, it's no longer good, it's no longer fine. What's the matter, Leila? Pardon? Okay, we'll go back to what you were watching before. Hold on, sorry, excuse me.
Michael, how's your parents doing?
They're good, thanks, Ariane.
I thought your dad might want to join.
Maybe you finish it.
He finds actually learning a bit in multiple groups quite difficult. Hearing and stuff. He does quite a bit. How's Elisa getting on?
I think okay. Up and down. I think I once spoke to Fran. I remember when she was sitting Shiva, and a little bit afterwards. I think Alyssa's very similar.
I'll try and give her a call. I haven't spoken to her properly yet.
Okay, sorry about that interlude, Chalka. So we just says when it comes to eating it, we say even by shlomim. If once the time frame, the days, 2 days and then 2 nights of eating the carbon is over, then it's no longer allowed. Oh, so that only comes when it comes to the eating of it. But when it comes to the bringing of it, no. Even if you've delayed and now passed the time frame, the 3 Yom Tovim, nonetheless, you can go ahead and bring it. If you delay bringing the carbon in the first place, it's not lo yirotz, it's no longer non-desirable. You can still bring it as a carbon. So ela b'chochet. So what we learn from our apostles, we now already have this drasha. We know from Ben Azai this idea that after the lo sa'acha, after the time frame has passed, you can still bring the carbon. So what do we learn from b'chochet? We said it's on you as sin and not the animals. We need to learn another drasha. So very interesting. The Gemara has a different drasha. The sin is on you and not on your wife. Okay, what's the havamina? Why, if I am obliged to bring a carbon, it's my chiyuv. I've delayed to bring it. You know, why should my wife, or why should have anything to do with my wife? So this is the havamina. This is the thought. This is Gemara of Rav Yochanan, and it comes up in a few places. You'll see in Zvachim, in Sanhedrin, and quoted a few other places. Maybe it's in the name of Rabbi Elazar. When does a person's wife die? When does she, sort of suffer death? It's because when someone that he's asked for money and he doesn't have it. What's the Gemara talking about? The Gemara seems to be talking about when a person's stolen and now they have to give back the money and they don't have the money to give back, meaning they've stolen money and they've spent it and they have nothing to repay their debts, to repay what they've stolen. The Gemara says that's where, the punishment is his wife passes, his wife's punished and dies for that. How do we know it? We learn it from a pasuk here in Mishlei. Pasuk says, let's just look this pasuk up inside. Give me 1 second. Is this what's on the screen share now? Sorry. Is Safari on the screen share?
No, yeah.
What do you see? Do you still see the Gemara? Do you see Safari? Yes. Do you see a blank page?
No, I can see the Gemara, but I've got my own Gemara anyway, but I can see it.
So let's just find this. Oh, my computer's slow. Let's find this pasuk in Mishlei.
22.
Pardon, what is it?
Mishlei Kaf Base.
Yeah, Mishlei Kaf Base. Let's just see with my Farshim. Do you not see the pasuk? The screen.
Which pasuk is it? 27.
Okay, yeah. No. I'm sure it's Kaf Base. Mishlei Kaf Base.
Kaf Base, Kaf Zion.
No, 27.
I'm
on 23. Okay, I'm on the wrong chapter. That's why. Okay, 27. Here we go. Yeah. Unless your bed is taken from under you and you have no money to pay. So what does that mean? So what does it mean? Your bed. So it's a euphemism for one's wife. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking about someone who has a loan. Either they've loaned money, or they've taken a loan out, or they've stolen money. They don't have to pay. The punishment is that one's wife passed. That's what it means. Yeah. So we might say it's comparable, just when it comes to paying a debt off or paying back the money you've stolen. We say if you haven't got money to pay, the punishment is take the bed underneath you, meaning one's wife passes away. You might think that's also here by Baal Tacha. If one fails to bring their carbon, that's going to be the punishment. Kamash Melo, no. The sin is on you. And no, it doesn't. The punishment here doesn't pass over. So look at Tosus. Elam came avakshim in the moment of Einlo. But so Perek Sheni Dzvachim Perish because the moment shall gezel. That's what I got. That's we're talking about. He stole money and he can't pay back. I will near the Mari Beneda Kedemucha Beperek Amod Madlikim. The Tanya Rabbi Nosson Mebavin the Dorim Mesa Ishto. No, it's not just maybe if you stole money. Maybe a neder. You vowed to give money, and then they come to collect the money. A neder, you made the vow. Where's the money you vowed to give? And that's what we say. The Tanya Rabbi Nosson Mebavin the Dorim Mesa Ishto. Shalom. Person's wife dies on the sin of not paying up his promises, his oaths. So this is a Tosfos' problem. So it's all well and good if you say it's about gazel, or it's about when we say Gemara says when they want money, and we're talking about either he stole money, he doesn't repay it, or he loaned money and he can't repay it. If you're telling me it's about neder, that's exactly what this is talking about. Baal Tacher is, the pasuk is, Kisidor Neder Hashem. If you make a vow, you promise to bring a korban. And then we say, that's exactly where we have the concept of if someone fails to bring an Eder, fails to do what they vow to do, Mesa Shalom Mace. Ishta Shalom Mace. So Tosfos has to come along to the answer up like this. When is it that we say Ben Nedarim, a person's wife passes away? That's when he doesn't pay up at all. Here, we're talking about meaning you do pay up. Eventually, he does pay up, but he's already been gone over the time of Baal Tacher, meaning the year is gone. So you might say, okay, Baal Tacher, just you failed to bring what you promised to bring. We see in other instances that when someone's failed to give the money they promised, or they owe, or they've stolen, and that's when Mesa Shalom, Ishta Shalom, so a person's wife dies. You might say, no, but there is a case by a neder that a person's wife will be punished for that, i.e., if he never pays up. Again, in the Achronim deal, so what's the scenario? So either we're talking about a case where a person, makes it very clear they have no intention to ever bring this korban, or it's clear that they're doing nothing about it. They've had the opportunity to do it now, and they haven't. They're not doing. But again, it's not so clear cut because we're talking about a case here where he's over Baal Tacher, but going to pay down the line somewhere else. In that case, we say again. This is the Gemara thing, not a Gemara, not a theology share. So again, how the theology of punishment on somebody else, one approach might be Ishto Kagufo, the idea that husband and wife are considered a inseparable unit. In many areas, halacha indistinguishable. Perhaps it's a worse punishment for a person themselves to die is one thing. To have the nearest and dearest is another thing. So again, but yeah, there's definitely a larger discussion to be had. We will stop here, and next time we will pick up in a new sugya here on Tanu Rabbanon on Daf Vav Amud Aleph, which is an interesting sugya, which talks about the mitzvahs aseh and the mitzvahs loisa aseh included here. Perhaps a little bit more of a broader global sugya, where we get to discuss how sort of mitzvahs on the two flip sides, the positive and negative of mitzvahs, might work together. I'll just stop the recording. Okay.